Hey, I'm Trevor with Idiot's Guide to Life, and today we're going to talk about headlight lens restoration. So we're going to actually do a lens restoration on both lenses of my 2004 Civic LX, and this is super ghetto, but it's only 10 bucks, and we're going to use Turtle Wax Headlight Lens Restorer. This actually works really well. So let's get started. So here's kind of a before of the lens. So this is a passenger lens that hasn't been treated yet, and then we'll give you a side by side if the camera will show it. So we'll go ahead and clean off the lens, get all the dirt and grime off of it. Make sure there's no bug goo. I'm gonna definitely clean and wax my car after this. So after you get the lens all cleaned off, you're gonna tape this sucker up. Basically, it's pretty, the compound's kind of hard on your paint, so if you were smart, and I try to think of myself as semi-smart, hence Idiot's Guide to Life. So I usually take the edge of the tape and just try to wedge it in between the lens and the bumper, like so. Takes a little bit of coaxing. So there's that. Then I'm not actually going to tape off the top because the hood's up, so I don't worry about that as much. But basically, keep going at it a little bit. You just kind of have to go strip by strip, so hopefully this will go a little faster. But you just get in there with the edge of the tape. It's not really agreeing with me right at the moment. So there's that. So that one basically drops down below the bumper's paint line. So you just kind of mark her off and then keep going. And what's really funny is I actually hit a deer about a year ago, and so like my bumper actually, if you look at it really close, which is really hard to do because most people don't pay attention to that stuff, but being a guy that works on cars for a living, I'm actually a car audio installer, but I've done pretty much anything under the moon. Semi shade tree, if you want to call it, but I'm a little too picky to actually jerry rig stuff, so a lot of people consider jerry rigging more shade tree. But so you just kind of keep working your way up, and I'm just like, basically if you look, I can, on this the lens is easier to get to, but you can see I'm tucking the tape up under the edge of the lens, and then I don't care about wrinkles or anything. We just want to protect the majority of the paint from the compound, because you end up like removing part of the compound, because we are going to use little sandpaper pads, and you can actually break this down into just using regular sandpaper and like distilled water, but I prefer not to do that because it's a lot of work, and plus it's hard to find those. Well, it's not really hard, but whatever. 10 bucks versus trying to go pay, you know, $6 to $7 for a bunch of sandpaper where you're only going to use one sheet. So we're working up it still. I just keep talking, but whatever. Let's see if you guys will listen. So there's that. So that's all protected. Good. Then I'm gonna get this corner edge. This part's a little trickier. So you gotta kind of go at it with a little piece. So it's like a combination of two little pieces and then kind of a medium-sized piece. So basically, here's my two little pieces. Get them shoved down in there. Make sure. And I'm just using 3M painter's tape. You can use masking tape, but I don't really care for masking tape, especially on like if the weather's hot and stuff. The tape sets, and then it kind of leaves residue on your. Especially if you have a really good clear coat. You know, there are people out there that will not have the greatest car in the world, but spend a lot of money on a paint job, and then they realize their headlights look like shit. So then they gotta, you know, it depends on if they spend all their money on their paint job, they can't afford to get new headlights or pay somebody to restore them. So there's that. Make sure I can show you. Make sure I can show you here. Doop, doop, doop. So here's the lens clarifying compound. I'm gonna rub down this first. This is basically a super micro gritty paste, and that's a good way to kind of bust up the oxidization, however you say that goddamn word. Then you have these pads, which are in numbers, and so there's pad 1, which is green, and there's 2 sides. Then there's pad 3, or actually I'm sorry, pad 2, which is brown. And so basically this is a super aggressive, this is medium, and then here's 3 and 4. So here's 3, here's 4, and this is like the finishing up. 4 is ultra fine and 3 is kind of meteor fine. So basically, grab my rag. It says to use a cotton rag. You can actually use a drill with like a bonnet on it, like a small drill if you wanted, but obviously I don't have one, so I'm gonna basically be kind of overzealous with the paste and just have at it. You just kind of rub it all over, and like, you know, and you can get some of the stuff on your car. It doesn't really matter. Like, well, it kind of does. It just depends on what you're gonna do. I'm actually gonna go ahead and wash the car and wax it, and I'll probably do a video on that too, but you won't see it right away. I'll just film it and then edit it later, because I'm gonna try to get this one done soon. So you just keep going at it. I mean, I got like 3/4 of a bottle. That other headlight didn't even take up 1/4 of a bottle. So you just kind of rub on there, keep rubbing, just kind of busting up the main oxidization or whatever that crap is. And like, what's really funny is when I had my car worked on, when the deer hit it, basically the deer destroyed this headlight and then cracked the corner of the driver's side. So I had to get the headlights replaced. And they're Honda headlights. They say Honda on them, but you basically, I don't know what it is, but they were pitted right here in these corners, and I never actually got that fixed, and I was too lazy to complain to my insurance company about it. But the lenses were pitted, and I think it was from the primer. Maybe it was overspray, or they didn't mask off the lenses or something when they painted the car, which doesn't make sense, because I think they would have, you know, painted the bumper while it's off the car, because they replaced the whole bumper and everything. So whatever. So now you take pad 1, which is the green. This is the side I've already used, so I'm gonna use this side. And they say to spray it right on the pad, the basically lubricating spray, which is basically distilled water. I think this one has a little bit of chemical in it of some sort, because it smells a little sweet. And you just work at it in one direction. Like, some people talk about going in small circles and stuff, but I usually just work at it in one direction. And then when you get really going, that's when you start kind of applying it to the lens itself. And then you're gonna notice, as you're going, a slurry is gonna start building up on the lens. And that's a good sign. So you just work at that slurry, and then as you notice, it'll get kind of clumpy, and then you want to spray a little bit more lubricant on it as you're going. This little flare thing, I don't know what that is. That's kind of a bear to work around, but I try to rub on her too, because, you know, if you don't get that shined or sanded out, it'll kind of be odd looking. So I just keep spraying my lubricant, and I'm working in one direction, so I'm working from left to right, side to side basically. And then when you get onto the next pad, you'll move 90 degrees to the actual path that you did originally. So that's what I'm doing. So we're just gonna keep going at it. You can actually see how fast this works. It works pretty dang fast. It's, you know, my lenses aren't that bad. They're not yellowed or anything. They have a little bit of yellowing in the top, you know, and if that ever gets real bad, I'm gonna have to, like, I'll probably have to bust out a drill and some actual sanding discs. And that's when you start working with like 3,000, 2,000, 1,500, and then 1,000 grit, and wet sanding style, and you just have at it. So I'm just kind of mainly focusing on the main beam area first, so my highs and lows, because that's where most of my light comes from anyway. So I want to make sure, if I'm gonna not get it all perfect, I'm gonna get most of the perfect on the main part of the lens. So you just keep going at it. Make sure that the lens doesn't dry out. You just keep adding that lubricant and make sure that slurry stays kind of as a slurry. Just keep going at it. And they make other products too, like Scratch Out, which basically is this clarifying lens compound. Scratch Out is the same thing. It's basically, I don't know, car wax with grit in it. So, I mean, it's really similar to No. 7 scratch remover for your car, your paint. It's the same shit. At least I think it is, you know, but whatever. Still gets the job done. So now I'm gonna work into the corner. Get the lube it up. That's what she said. So you just have at it, and this is always gonna take the longest. You'll notice that I'll take the longest on this, all by hand. And I don't know, doing it by hand isn't so bad if you don't have power tools and stuff. And like I said, 10 bucks. How are you gonna beat 10 bucks? I actually went and looked at like trying to buy the tools, like little mandrels and stuff, so I could actually use my drill on this, get it done faster. I was looking like $50 when I was all said and done, and to hell with that. I would rather just take some time and some American elbow grease and some ingenuity and just have at it this way. So I'm just gonna keep going. This is the thing, is you don't, when you're ready to switch to the next pad, don't like buff anything off or wipe anything off, because the slurry is actually going to benefit you. So you just keep going. I don't know. I'm probably about ready, I think. I think I'm about ready. Let's do it. Let's go a little bit more. So yeah, I don't care. I'm going kind of hardcore on these puppies. So keep going at it. See, that's a little dried up, like hazy. You don't want hazy, you want liquefied. You just keep going. So this is pad 1. I'm about to switch over to pad 2, which is actually the brown pad in the kit. And I'm just trying to make sure I cover everything evenly. Alright, so now we're going to switch over to pad 2. Just kind of spray the lens a little bit. And then you basically start working up and down, not side to side like I just did. It doesn't hurt to do that, but the directions kind of state to go side to side. And I think it just helps kind of the way the smoothing out works. Because basically you're basically just taking a layer off the plastic. So you got your layer. You think of it as like a paint coat, a coat of paint. The paint has like, you could layer up like 4 layers of paint, and then you can just sand off a layer after it gets kind of worn out. You know what I mean? So, and I gotta be kind of careful, my tape's coming off right there, so that was a little, oh well. So you just keep going. Alright, now we're switching over to pad 3, which is the purple pad. Lube it up. Keep the slurry going. It's very important. So now I'm going to work side to side basically. Oh, and the key thing is too, is you want to keep using firm pressure. You want to use pressure. You don't, not going light. And these 2 pads, you're going to go just at it for about a minute. So now we're ready to switch over to 4. Working opposite direction basically. Alright, so now basically you grab your polishing or your clarifying lens compound, give yourself a good old spursh, and then just have at it some more. Basically, you'll treat this like a car wax. You're gonna rub it on, make sure you use firm pressure, and then a haze is gonna build after you're done. And these lenses weren't so bad, so I really can't show you like what yellow lenses look like, but that would take a long time. So I'm gonna put some over on the driver's side one more time, just for giggles. Paid for it, might as well use it. There you go. So we got that haze built up on there. Let it sit, grab a clean cotton towel, just buffer away. I mean, it's not gonna look perfect, but they're gonna look way better than they did. They won't have like, they had like these patches all over, like look like there's like a glass version of the earth with continents and crap. So you hear that? Hear that squeak? That's the squeak of shininess, or at least better than it was. So there you go. There's the shiny lens. So here's the finished lens after all the compounds have been applied in the buffing pads. And so that's what she looks like when I'm all done, and then I will actually use the whatever you call it here, the lens sealing wipe. That's what we'll use after this. So we'll go ahead and apply that to the light. So that's basically it. So here's the driver's side lens that's been treated with all the preparation pads and buffing compound, and then the passenger side that hasn't been treated yet.